Around 1907, the last image of two famous Western adventurers is a surprise. They're posing in the Bolivian Andes. The setting, snowy peaks and deep valleys, breaks from the prairies and small towns where they used to operate, hinting at a turning of the page in the legend around them back then. When the death notice came out, it was blunt. John Wesley Hardin, the famous Texas outlaw, is no longer alive. That line closed a story that began years earlier and ended in 1895, when lawman John Selman gunned him down inside the Acme Saloon in El Paso. A stark end to a life fueled by gunpowder and debts. The obituary sounded final. Before we keep going, click subscribe and turn on the bell. That way YouTube knows this content matters and sends it to more people. In March 1886, during the talks between General George Crook and Geronimo that would change the course of the U.S. Apache conflict, photographer C.S. Fly captured a striking scene: an Apache man posing in a three-piece suit. The contrast with traditional Apache clothing shows the tensions and cultural crossovers of that moment. Dated to around 1850, this daguerreotype ranks among the earliest images of a fur trapper, James P. Beckwourth. The image later appeared in his biography, published in 1856. Born in 1778 in Virginia, he was the son of an enslaved woman and a superintendent of Irish origin. His life would gain wide renown. Around 1850, a portrait captures an unnamed face. In the shine of the daguerreotype appears a frontiersman, features that blend worlds. Clues point to a Metis origin, a community formed by the meeting of indigenous peoples and Europeans. The image suggests crossing paths and a past in motion. Jack Morrison, a cavalry veteran, became known as a feared and effective marshal. Between missions, he held Tom O'Brien, his contemporary and a Western touchstone, in high regard. In letters to Franklin Pierce, he insisted, "No one better than O'Brien to tell the story of that frontier." His conviction guided his requests and defended faithful records. The Texas Rangers emerged in the Republic of Texas, before annexation to the United States. In 1874, the Frontier Battalion was created, made up of 6 companies. Operating across vast areas, the group cemented patrol and investigation methods and became a law enforcement reference point in what came to be called the Old West. Known as the New Mexico Thieves, they appear on a cabinet card around 1880. Historians suspect the standing man is John Kinney, a gang leader tied to horse and cattle theft. In the 1870s and 1880s, the group spread fear and left its mark on the Old West in the region. At 20, John Henry Holliday graduated from the Pennsylvania College of Dental Surgery. The young man in this rare adult portrait wasn't a legend yet. Years later, he'd trade the dental chair for a revolver and gain fame in the OK Corral shootout in Tombstone, a decisive moment in the American West. On a cabinet card from about 1895, Roy Bean appears as a symbol of the Old West. Self-styled as the Law West of the Pecos, he held court on the counter of his own saloon in Texas. His way of handing out justice, irregular and often arbitrary, made him both famous and controversial. A photographic carte de visite of uncertain origin turned up at the Pawnee Art Studio in the town of Pawnee. The portrait shows cultural tensions and mixed views on Oklahoma and its immediate future. In 1896, the Guthrie Daily Leader summed up the mood. "Oklahoma has nothing to offer and never will." Before we keep going, click subscribe and turn on the bell. That way YouTube knows this content matters and sends it to more people. In an albumin photograph, we see a slice of law enforcement in the Old West. Pinkerton Agency agents hunting the Wild Bunch gang around 1900. On the left is Charlie Siringo, who traded cowboy life in Texas and New Mexico for a detective career, and became a standard bearer. Enigmatic and controversial, Apache Kid emerged in the U.S. Southwest, tied to the Apaches. He started as a scout valued by the Army, precise and loyal. A chain of conflicts and misunderstandings turned the tide. From trusted ally, he slipped into hiding and became a target. His fame grew in that contrast. Published in 1907 in The Story of the Outlaw, the portrait spotlights John Simpson Chisholm, the Cattle King. Active since 1854, he formed a partnership in 1866 with Charles Goodnight and Oliver Loving. Together they drove large herds to the New Mexico Territory, building a central chapter in America's cattle trade. Samantha Fallon established herself as a heavyweight businesswoman in Tombstone, in the Arizona Territory. She ran the San Jose House Hotel and a hat shop. She appears on a cabinet card photographed by C.S. Fly around 1879. Beyond business, she kept ties with prominent figures of her time. Local history remembers her. In Redstone, Nevada, the hunt for cattle thief Jesse Caldwell ended in a shootout. Sheriff Nathaniel Clark of Silver Ridge cornered the criminals and, after an exchange of gunfire, took down 3 names that had terrorized the area: Caldwell himself and brothers Eli and Thomas Hargrove. The clash sealed the capture and broke up the gang. In the 19th century, Lola Montez gained fame with the Spider Dance. In 1853, upon arriving in California, she brought to the stage an intense number that mixed gesture and presence. The performance, direct and defiant, gripped audiences and became her signature, reflecting her talent and the indomitable character that followed her. McCubbin's collection began with a portrait of Pat Garrett, Sheriff of Lincoln, and a central name of the Old West. Famous for capturing and killing Billy the Kid on July 14, 1881, he earned a permanent place in American memory. The image records the man and the instant that changed history. It's the starting point of the narrative. McCubbin, a collector of historical photos with proven provenance, faces a dilemma. An image of uncertain authorship might portray buckskin Frank Leslie. Without direct proof, he stays convinced by matching facial features to an authenticated portrait, turning doubt into an investigation about identity and memory. John Wesley Hardin, a standout name of the Old West, gained fame at 18. The 1871 photo shows the young gunman's face. Until his death in 1895, he tallied between 27 and 42 victims, a number that put him among the most feared. His life sums up the hard, short lives of outlaws in the American West. It still echoes in frontier legends today. Bill Doolin emerged in the Oklahoma Territory alongside the Daltons, escaped the Coffeyville Clash, and became a dark legend. A cabinet card from 1896 by Doherty and Guthrie records his end. The image freezes a chapter of crime in the West in the face of a man who marked it, echoing the violence that shaped that frontier. Before we keep going, click subscribe and turn on the bell. That way YouTube knows this content matters and sends it to more people. Simpson Comanche Jack Stillwell left his mark on his time, though without the spotlight of Buffalo Bill Cody or Wild Bill Hickok. His name gained weight after the 1868 Battle of Beecher Island, when his decisive actions entered frontier memory and set his path. He didn't rival them in fame, but he left a lasting imprint. In 1887, John Grable photographed a cowboy credited as Fred Pierce, notable Wyoming cowboy. The promise of fame contrasts with the documentary silence. In the territory's 1880 censuses, the name doesn't appear conclusively. The inevitable hook remains. Who, after all, was the man in the photo? A central figure in frontier mythology, James Butler Wild Bill Hickok rose to renown as the most famous gunfighter of the Old West after his 1865 duel with Dave Tutt. That showdown became the template for Hollywood Western shootouts. An emblematic photograph of Hickok was taken around that year. The bank robbery in Northfield, Minnesota, led by the James Younger Gang, became a milestone of the Old West and drew national attention. After the arrests, cartes de visite, then a popular photo format, showed the captured bandits and, in some cases, the dead, fixing their faces in the public memory. Though buffalo hunting played a central role in the Old West, few images recorded its main actors. One exception is this cabinet card, from around 1880. In it, a hunter poses with a Sharps rifle, a gun associated with killing those animals, and a symbol of a frontier shaped by the pursuit of livelihood and profit. At first glance, it's just a cabinet card portrait. A 19th century U.S. military officer, photographed by a renowned New York photographer in early 1876. Soon after, he would march to the battle that fixed his name, when he and his troops faced the ending that sealed his tragic fate. In March 1886, a photographer from Tombstone, Arizona, accompanied a United States Army general on a mission that crossed the border into Mexico. The images taken became valuable records. Among them stands out a scene of men, women, and children of the Chiricahua Apache Nation, gathered before the lens. In 1884, traveling across the Old West, Photographer Frank Randall headed to the San Carlos Reservation in the Arizona Territory. There he set out to photograph Geronimo, the Chiricahua Apache leader. During his stay, he made several portraits. One of them took on a life of its own and became the standout image of the trip. On August 18, 1868, a photograph captures Satanta, a Kiowa leader wearing a peace medal. The emblem, by all indications, came from the 1867 Medicine Lodge Treaty. The portrait goes beyond the man. It condenses a tense chapter in negotiations between indigenous nations and the U.S. government. We've reached the end of our video. Subscribe to our channel and leave a comment if you liked the content. See you next time.